She throws an apple at his head. He is basically the fairy godmother in this story. It's a little cheesy and a little weird. I'm not a fan of it. Children, the abomination of a dumpster fire. Hi guys, welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. No show review, I'm still working through the two series that I'm in, but I have discovered something amazing. I found some actually good remakes of classic Disney movies. Like, it's amazing. Spoiler alert, none of them are made by Disney. Okay, so we're sort of going to be reviewing them, kind of just gushing about the fact that they're, yeah, actually good. Clip, sorry, planning a trip. Let's see. Base or not? Oh, the base. Okay. Yeah, it's a miracle that these are like actually good. But so majority of them are live action. There's, I guess, technically one that's not live action in there. But here we go. These are definitely, hopefully not all the good remakes of classic Disney stories that we have, but these are the ones that I've found in the last couple of years. We're going to start it off with a Cinderella remake. It's called Ever After. It's a wonderful thing. It's the best part about all of these remakes is that they have their own spin on the story. You can tell based on like the general main plot line that it is that story, because it has like the major plot points that happen in the original classic movies. Excuse me. But these have their own twist and it makes it cool, and it's nice. So Forever After, it's almost a little bit more historically accurate to that time period, and it takes like the magic out of it, so no fairy godmother and whatever else. I will say none of these are musicals either, like the classics were, which is fine. It's totally fine. They don't have to be musicals. It's good, because a lot of times I feel like the downfall of live action remakes that that Disney makes is they keep the soundtrack, obviously, but because it's all the same songs, we're comparing them to the originals, and they're also trying to make them more modern, and so something's not a little bit off about them, and so then the soundtrack's just disappointing, and it makes it really sad, and it makes part of the reason I think all of them miss the mark with me and just in general is the soundtrack, and the fact that it's off or whatever else, or they tried to make it more pop feel for this day and age, and it just doesn't work with the songs. So I kind of like the fact that they take the music out of it. And so we have Ever After is obviously Cinderella. Her dad dies shortly after marrying her stepmother with the two daughters. The overarching plot is the prince trying to figure out life, figure out how to have a wife that he loves, and just struggling with the idea of being king and all the responsibility that goes with it. And then we have Cinderella's character, who is not named Cinderella. It's Danielle. Yeah, Danielle. And they meet, by happenstance, and have that... She throws an apple at his head. It's very fun. Knocks him off the horse because he's trying to steal it to get away from the palace guards. It's a very fun moment. They have some very fun moments. I like their dynamic in this one. But yeah, and then the way they meet, I guess officially, after, she throws an apple at his head, is Danielle's stepmother is, getting herself into a crap ton of debt. And so in order to pay back some of that debt, she basically starts selling the servants into slavery to work off her debts. And so Danielle finds out, figures out where one of these servants is going to be shipped to the Americas to work off the debt. And so she goes over there posing as a courtier. And because she got money from something to buy him back. Anyway, so she goes and she buys him back so that he's not shipped to a different country, and then brings him back to the house. And so they officially meet while she's pretending to be a courtier, and so they have this whole discussion about her views on how the kingdom's being run, and him being like, oh, that's different. I've never actually been among the people and learned what's happening and how the people think and how this very logically trained, I guess, woman sees things, and it's a very fun dynamic and having her pretend having a longer relationship for them than one night at a ball is also fun. But she's playing out this lie, this false identity through the entire thing. Da Vinci shows up. He is basically the fairy godmother in this story because he rescues her when she's locked in the basement on the night of the ball, and gives her dress and wings and whatever else so that she can go to the ball. So Da Vinci is technically the fairy godmother in this version of the story. Yeah. Which is also very fun. But just having them interact and having a more grounded version of the story is very fun, and I really enjoy it. And I own that one now. So yeah, I really like it, and the characters are good, and just having Danielle be not a strong female in the sense that she's a fighter and can just beat the crap out of all the guys, but in her logic and in her thinking and almost in her femininity, she is able to be this strong woman, and I like it. They also have probably one of the best scenes in the movie is they're attacked by bandits. Well, bandits, gypsies. I don't remember. I think they're technically gypsies, but anyway, they get it. I said, basically, they're gonna mug them in the woods. And they're like, okay, we'll let the lady go with anything she can carry. And so she's just like, okay, picks up the prince on her shoulders and starts walking away, and it's a wonderful thing. I love it. Oh man. So yeah, that's Ever After. Wonderful remake of Cinderella. It's so good. I love it. Now, if we move on to The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid. Okay. This one probably strays the farthest from the original storyline, while still holding true to the themes and the plot of the stories. And it's great, and I love it. And it's almost I think it's probably better than the classic original plotline, in my opinion. I really, really like it. Okay. So the title is literally just The Little Mermaid. It's the same title, but this one was made in 2018. The cast is wonderful. It has William Moseley. Freaking Peter Pevensey plays the technically the main character. It's him and his little sister, and his little sister is sick, and he's trying to find a cure for her. And so he's taking care of his little sister, and he finds out about it, or he's a newspaper article writer, whatever. And so he gets a story in, I don't remember where. Somewhere in the States, coastal, I think. And he's going to investigate this guy who's selling miracle water. It's like a cure-all for everything. He's like, okay, fine. And he goes and, not happy about this story. It's kind of a puff piece thing. And so he goes and he's kind of investigating and asking people things. And in that, because the guy who's selling the water is also like the ringleader of a circus, and one of his spectacles is a quote-unquote mermaid, who is played by Poppy Drayton, who is Amberly in the Shannara Chronicles. And so I'm recognizing all of these random obscure actors that I know in this movie. I'm like, yes! more recognition for these people, because they're wonderful. Yeah. So we have those two in there. It's wonderful. I love it. And then, so they find that this ringleader or whatever it's like, oh, it's the mermaid, and his little sister, and William Moses' character is named Cam. His little sister is Elle. And so, obviously his little sister goes, oh my gosh, it's a mermaid. It's a real mermaid. And then him now sort of investigating that as well and trying to convince her, no, it's probably not real, while not, bashing her entire imagination. And then we have him and the mermaid, who is cursed differently. So she took the deal with the sea warlock. It's a warlock now, not a witch. And, gave her voice and whatever, to get legs, to get the prince on with the condition that if she got a kiss from, well, not a prince, but the guy she likes, if she got a kiss from him, she'd be human forever. And if she didn't, her soul would literally belong to him, and so then she'd basically be his slave. And so we have the whole start is a monologue of this lady telling the story of the Little Mermaid, and then in the end, she doesn't get the kiss from the guy she likes. She realizes, she finds out, no, humans aren't necessary. It's like love at first sight isn't necessarily a thing. Wasn't what you thought it was. You were being naive. And so she fails to get the kiss, and now her soul is owned by a sea warlock. And thus, she has legs for part of the time, and then it's high tide, I think she gets her tail back. And then, so he starts meeting Poppy Drayton's character. I don't remember her name, actually, off the top of my head. Besides just the mermaid. I don't even remember if they say it. I know they say it. I just don't remember what it is. But anyway, so them meeting him, going, okay, so she's not a real mermaid. And getting to know her. And they hint and the implication that maybe there'll be a thing. And then, going through the story and finding out, no, she's straight up an actual mermaid. She's a real mermaid. And her soul is trapped by the ringleader, who is actually a sea warlock. And then they have to free her soul. And it's great. I love it. I love it. It's so good. It's actually really, really good. Oh, and then the whole miracle water works into this because he's selling water that he got from, the tank or whatever that he shows the mermaid off in. And so he's just like, oh, the mermaid being in the water gives it healing properties, and yay, it heals you. And yeah, so that's how that works into the plot, and then it's really fun. And then Elle, through mermaid magic at the end of the movie, gets healed, and it turns out that the narrator lady from the beginning is actually Elle, who's all grown up and telling her granddaughter that, and it's fun. It's very fun. I really like it. I don't own that one. I have no idea where I'd find that one, but if I found it, I would own it. Okay. Now, Snow White. I suppose I technically have 2 for this one. But I watched this one on my way home from Colorado like 2 weeks ago. It's called Mirror Mirror. This one is a little sillier and is probably low, but it's definitely under Ever After and 2018 Little Mermaid on my preference quality list. But it's very fun, and it's a nice remake of the Snow White story. So like the overall plot is the same. This princess's princess, my mom dies, dad marries witch lady, dad dies, and now she's under a stepmother who's trying to gain more and more power. Stepmother evil queen in this one is literally played by Julia Roberts. It's kind of funny. But yeah, it's despite the quirkiness and the cheesiness that comes in quite a bit, it is pretty interesting because the way the mirror works is fun. So it's like the evil queen doesn't technically have magic, but she has this magic mirror, and the whole thing is she walks into a room with the mirror, walks through the mirror, and comes out into this little hut in the middle of like an endless sea, and then talks to a reflection of herself, and the mirror uses magic, and then she pays the price for it eventually, but the mirror is the thing that uses magic, and it's more of it's a cool sentient reflection version of her that has magic. And so there's cool moments where it literally is like messing with marionettes in the mirror's dimension area, and then these giant marionettes drop from sort of marionettes, but anyway, drop from the sky in the real world and start attacking the dwarves, and it's fun. The dwarves are pretty interesting. A few of them are like, the characters are a little cheesy, like we have the one that's in love with her, the hopeless romantic one. One who's named Wolf who howls for randomly, and I was like, yes, I get it, your name is Wolf, stop howling. But otherwise, they're interesting, and they're all got their unique personalities and their unique look, and the story behind why they're out in the woods is a cool kind of darker version of it, because you have the queen who basically just like banned anyone who was different from the kingdom, which includes dwarves, short people. You're different, get out. And so that side of it is really cool too. And then we have Snow trains to become the leader of these bandits, and another fun thing is the dwarves use stilts to make themselves look bigger, to intimidate and have like the high ground in a fight with them. And it's interesting. It's a little cheesy and a little weird visually, because they also like bouncy stilts. That's probably the visually the weirdest part of the movie, is them watching them run around on stilts. But it's fun. You also have the whole legend of this beast that lives in the woods, that ends up being a cursed person a person that the queen cursed. The beast is interesting. It's kind of like a Chinese dragon looking thing, with just like 2 front legs. So it's very cool to watch it move around. Like, effects in all these movies, what little there are also great. Just gonna say that. But yeah, so the beast is a very interesting look, but it's still cool, and watching it move around and wrap around trees and slither around is very interesting, very cool. I think besides the stilts, the other cheesiest part is, obviously the queen goes, I'm an idiot, I got us into financial debt, and I'm trying to keep everyone from finding out that I've just like bankrupt the entire kingdom. And so I'm going to try and marry this wealthy prince that came into my kingdom after getting attacked by the bandits, the dwarves, because he's rich. He can fix all my financial problems. And then He's not into it. He's got eyes for Snow White because they met at a ball that Snow crashed. And then she uses a love potion, but obviously mixes it up, and now it's puppy love. And I'm like, that's a little cheesy. And unnecessary, because the first scene where it happens and a little bit of implication after that is really all you get, and I think they just did it for the humor factor. But, and to make her mess her plans up a little bit. But I was like, that part was a little bit cheesy, a little bit unnecessary. But again, they're still trying to make this for younger audience. So, grain of salt. Yeah. In the vein of Snow White, technically not a Snow White remake, but connected to a live-action Snow White remake, which really wasn't good. Huntsman Winter's War. It's technically a sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman. Was not a fan of that one. It was kind of a weird remake. I don't know I don't know if they were implying that it was a father-daughter relationship between the huntsman and Snow White, but then he kissed her on the lips, and I was like, I don't know if that's supposed to be romantic or paternal, but I don't know. It was weird and I didn't like the remakes. But their sequel, which I didn't know was a sequel to that until after I'd watched it 2 or 3 times and then realized, that has got the huntsman is the same actor in this. Anyway, yeah, the sequel is actually very good. First of all, Emily Blunt playing an ice witch. Wonderful. Love it. Origins of the huntsman that are really, really dark and cool. Love it. The only thing I didn't really like is the evil queen, the version of the evil queen from Snow White and the huntsman shows up. And she's probably my least favorite part of the entire thing. She gives this common enemy for the huntsman and Freya at the Emily Blunt's character Freya, and at the end it gives Freya redemption, which yes, love it, and I understand why it had to be her sister, but I don't know, I just didn't like the evil queen character version, whatever, in this universe. I'm not a fan of it. But everything else about that was only the last 5-10 minutes. Everything else about the movie was fun. We have a magical ice wall that makes them both believe the worst. So the whole thing is she fell in love, had a kid with this guy, and they were gonna run away, get married, whatever else. Her sister, Freya's sister, spells him to kill their child. And so she's like, love is awful. Love doesn't exist. It's a weakness. And so she raises an army of super elite children. So she finds children, orphans, whatever else, raises them to be fighters, and indoctrinates them for their entire childhood that love is a weakness, love is a lie. You're not allowed to love. That's the main rule. You're not allowed to love. And then we have 2 of them obviously fall in love. And so they're carrying this whole thing on in secret. She finds out about it. Confronts them when they try to leave, and then she's like, there, go to each other. If you get to each other, you can leave, and then has a group of her huntsmen attacking each of them. And so then when they're about to get to each other, she raises this magic ice wall between them so that he thinks she's dead and she thinks he abandoned her. And so she goes back into helping Freya, and he goes off on his own. And then, goes bounty hunter, mercenary style, and finds Snow White and has the whole, first movie that we don't talk about. And then them finding each other and having this whole debacle happening and going, what the heck, you're alive, I thought you were dead. And her going, you left me, what the heck? And having this thing, and them sort of falling back in love. And you have trolls, it's an interesting version of trolls, because they have tar blood, and they're all black, and they collect gold, and they're kind of monkey-esque, and it's kind of cool. But anyway, the whole plot is they're going after the magic mirror from, Snow White and whatever else, which is just this omen of evil and makes people fight each other and kill each other to have like its power. And so they're going on this quest to find it and get it to a safe place. But obviously, his lady huntsman's working for Freya, and so they find it, and she gives him up, and Freya takes it. And Freya's sister, Ravenna, the evil queen, trapped part of her soul in it, and then, Freya finds out the truth, and fights Ravenna, and then kills her, and then they both die, and the huntsmen are now free to live their own lives. Again, this one also probably goes underneath Ever After and 2018 Little Mermaid. But it's still interesting. It's kind of a fun fantasy movie. And I put it in here as in the remake video because it's connected to Snow White, technically. So yeah. And then, lastly, this is the only one that's not technically a live action, which is why I can't say a good live action remakes video. This. Remember, like 2 years ago now, technically? It's 2024 now. It's so weird. But in 2022, there were like 3 Pinocchio movies that came out. There was the Disney live action version. There was the abomination of a dumpster fire of an animated version where it didn't seem like the voice actors cared. The animation was absolute nightmare fuel, and I don't know how it got greenlit. I don't know how it saw the light of day, but it did. If you know, you know. If you don't, I'll link the trailer in the description. You can go find out for yourself if you have any desire to put yourself through that. But the third one was a stop-motion version of Pinocchio made by Guillermo del Toro, the same man who is responsible for Pan's Labyrinth, which, if you've seen my Pan's Labyrinth review, I'll link that one down below as well, you'll know I love it, and it's one of my favorite fantasy movies. It's amazing. It's in Spanish. It's pretty much all practical effects, and it's just wonderful and awesome and dark and so gosh dang gorgeous. So, made by the same man who's responsible for that. And it's so good. It is a darker version of Pinocchio. So, yeah, Geppetto has a son, loses him during the war, and then, years of mourning, drinking, all that, decides to make a wooden puppet to essentially remake his son as Pinocchio, and then he gets brought to life, and, the whole Pinocchio, his nose grows, blah, 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 gets tempted by all these things, but if Pinocchio dies in this, he's not a real boy, so he can't technically die. He just gets put into essentially the afterlife to talk to whatever deity of death, essentially, they have in this, which is a cool Sphinx creature thing. And then once his time is up with her, he gets sent back to the real world. And they just do that for again and again and again till the end of time. And so he can't die. So he dies like 3 times and comes back. And each time he dies, he's stuck with this Sphinx thing longer and longer. And so it's just a very fun concept to throw in there anyway. And then, so because he can't die, because it's a fascist occupation under, is it Mussolini? If I'm wrong, sorry. If you know which dictator it is, you can put that down below, comment that down below. But anyway, it's under whatever dictatorship that is, and so it's essentially this Nazi guy. Not a Nazi, but this fascist army officer or whatever just straight up drafts him into combat training to become a soldier because he can't die. It's like, you're the perfect soldier. And there's, oh gosh, the entire place gets blown up. The entire place. And then the whale that swallows them is this giant fish monster thing. It's so cool. And Pinocchio's nose, when it grows, it's just like a straight up tree. It grows like a tree branch instead of just out, and it's great. And it's, the whole movie is absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. Everything looks so good. We have the fox, which is just a guy with this red hair that goes up like ears, and so he's not actually a fox. He's just this cunning, manipulative guy. And it's wonderful. I love it so much. It's so pretty to look at. It's such a cool, dark version of it. It's just, it's so good. It's so good. And in the end, Pinocchio like doesn't become a real boy, so to speak. He becomes mortal to save his dad. And then, because of things happening, he comes back. But then he comes back, he's, you know, the puppet again. And so he outlives everyone. And just lives forever, I guess? It's interesting. Also, the cricket is played by Ewan McGregor. And I love it. And I'm really, really sad because this one kind of is a musical. There are songs in this one. But they don't let Ewan McGregor sing. He gets to start his song like 2 or 3 times, but he always gets interrupted, and it made me kind of mad. Let Obi-Wan sing, please. I want him to sing. I have not watched Moulin Rouge, but I've listened to some of the soundtrack, and I know he can, and I know he'd do it well. Just let Ewan sing. That was the only disappointment of the entire movie, is they didn't let Ewan McGregor sing. But otherwise, it was fantastic. I loved it. No notes. It was just great. And it was good quality because it's stop motion, so it takes time, so you have to put freaking quality into it and some thought into it and make effort, and it's just, I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, those are the classic Disney movie remakes that I've found in the last couple years that are actually good, and I love it, and I appreciate it, and I'm so happy that they exist, because, seriously, yes, the whole point of having a story and like getting it to be classic and whatever else is so that people will be inspired by it and, you know, in some sense retell it. But the way Disney is doing that is just, it's not how a story should be retold. Because they're trying to tell the exact same story the same way all over again, just in a different medium. And that's not how you retell a story. Retelling a story is taking the themes and taking some of the plot points maybe. And in some of these cases, they didn't even technically take the same characters. They made new characters and put them into the story. But like taking some of the characters, like a really good character from the story, taking the themes of the story, taking some of the plot points and the path the story takes, and taking that and creating your own story from it. That's how you retell and remake a story, is taking the key parts of it, the parts that made it a classic, and doing something new with it. And not just regurgitating the same thing over and over again with different actors and with a different style. Because that's not entertaining anymore. You're not getting anything new. You're just getting the exact same story over and over again. And so it's not enjoyable anymore. Because because then you're just comparing it to the other one because it's the same story. So you're comparing it to the other one, and because the other one is a classic and is the original, there's going to be a lot more nostalgia and memories and all of that tied to that one. And so the remake that is just the same story told the same way again is never going to stand a chance because it's the same story. And it comes down to it, if someone's going to just throw the exact same story at me, but, you know, this time it's live action, or this time Ariel is black, the chances of me going for this new one versus what I grew up with and what sparked all of the inspiration and all the imagination and all of the stuff that came from it, I'm going to pick the original over the new one because I don't have any tie or anything invested in this new one. It's just, oh, it's this one, but it's Little Mermaid, but Scuttle's annoying, Ariel's black, and we maybe get a few okay, sort of decent songs, new songs. That's literally the only thing that's different. We do get more Eric and Ariel scenes. I appreciate the development of their relationship a little bit more, but other than that, there's nothing new in it, and if anything, there's things that make it worse than the original. And so I don't understand the point of telling the exact same story the same way, but just live action. Yeah, that's not how you retell a story. Because it's not interesting, it's not new, it's just annoying. So, yes. These are remakes that I think retold a story in a way that stories should be retold, by taking the ideas, taking the characters, taking that general plot idea and that general plot line and making something new out of it. Yes, I very much enjoyed all of these movies. There are definitely a few. One I do own, one or two that I want to own, but I have no idea where to find them. And yeah. If you've seen any of these, drop your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't, please go watch all of them. If you have any more good remakes of like classic movies, drop those in the comments. I would love to find more. But yeah, overall, just drop any thoughts, recommendations, requests, whatever in the comments. I post videos on this channel every Wednesday and Saturday, and I've started posting on my other channel on Thursdays. See y'all next time.